A lot of people might not want to hear this, but Jesus will heal your grief. Let's talk about it. I want to start this off by saying I am not sharing this with you because I believe it is the only path toward healing. I'm not sharing this with you because I want to force you to do anything you're uncomfortable with. Opposite of that, actually. If I'm being honest, this topic and this subject used to make me really uncomfortable too. And so I know where you're at if you're feeling uncomfortable with me bringing this up and associating it with grief, but I just want to remind you that I'm here to share my experience with you. And this is a major part of my experience. And I'm just now talking about it because for a long time, I was afraid of sharing it with you. Because, like I said, the last thing I would ever want is for you to feel like I'm pushing this on you because I'm not. It's the last thing I'm doing, actually. And we'll get into this a little bit later, but like my mom, who was superwoman of faith, never even pushed it on me. So that's the last thing I would ever want to do is make you feel like I'm pushing this on you. Just a little disclaimer before we jump into the beef of this story, okay? I am not a Christian influencer. I am a WIP, okay? I'm a work in progress. I still cuss a little bit here and there. I still have my things, but don't put me on a pedestal. I am just here to tell you my relationship with Christianity, with Jesus, with the Bible, okay? Have whatever opinion you want. Be kind to me in the comments. I'm not perfect. I'm still learning. And for all you Christian keyboard warriors that are not going to be nice to me in the comments, my Jesus would never do that to me. This is no hate to the Catholic Church, okay? I am so grateful for my time in the Catholic Church. We'll get into that a little bit, but second disclaimer. I'm going to talk about my experience in the Catholic Church and then finding Christianity outside of the Catholic Church. I want to stop and say I'm very grateful for my time and for the foundation of my faith that was built in the Catholic Church. No hate to Catholics, no hate to the Catholic Church. I believe that everyone goes on a faith journey, and I am just sharing with you what my faith journey has looked like up to this point. All disclaimers aside, let's get into it. The year is 1996. I am about 6 months out of the womb, and I am being dunked into a baptismal in a Catholic church in Tampa, Florida. In the Catholic faith, the teachings say that everyone is born with sin. And so you're baptized really early to wash away that sin. That's really where the faith journey starts. I'm baptized really young. I grew up going to Sunday school every single week. My grandmother and my mom and my family are very devout Catholics, and they have a beautiful relationship with their faith. My grandmother sings really loud on Sundays, and I always loved that about her was how Catholic she was. Like, she was like the mayor of her church or something crazy. Anyways, grew up going to Sunday school. My mom was my Sunday school teacher, and that was in Georgia. We moved to Texas, where we started going to another Catholic church in Texas. This is where I feel like my faith journey really gets going in terms of my decisions in my faith. A lot of time growing up, I'm going to church every single Sunday because my mom is telling me I need to go. And that is the case up until I leave for college. But when I hit the middle school, high school point of my life, that's when I started wanting to go because my friends were going, and I had a community there where I would see them after church every single Sunday. We would do youth nights, and we would go on retreats and, see each other. And it was really just like a hangout with my friends while I was also learning more about God. But I think it was a very surface level relationship with God. Like, I didn't know anything deeper than listening to the gospels on Sundays, you know what I mean? Then we step into high school and I start singing worship for the first time. I talk about this, I'll say it again, a little reminder. I went to Berklee College of Music. I love to sing. And this is really where singing became a really big passion of mine. Was at a Catholic church, believe it or not. And so I started singing at church on Sundays. I always sang really loud in church. It was like my mom's pride and joy to sit next to me in church and have me sing really loud next to her and have people turn around and be like, "You have such a beautiful voice." And my mom would like grab me and hug me and be like it was her compliment too. She was receiving the compliment too, and she loved it. And I that's such a beautiful memory I have with her. Um, so I started singing in the youth band at my high school youth band. Shout out to all the homies that were in the high school youth band. For real, that was such a beautiful time in my life where we were just playing music together and worshiping God. And I didn't know what that meant, singing worship music. To be honest, I looking back in time, I feel like it was really a way for me to get on stage, right? And I loved it. I didn't really know the impact that that had on people until I was on a retreat. I was in high school and I was on a middle school retreat. And so I was ministering to middle schoolers as a high schooler. And this little girl comes up to me and she goes, "I never really understood who Jesus was or what he did or anything like that until I was listening to you worship tonight." And I still remember that to this day. I never really fully understood what it meant at the time, but that was the peak of my faith in my adolescence. I talked about my grandmother's faith. My mom was a devout Catholic. This woman, think about this, Southern, blonde, big hair, Catholic woman. All the recipe for someone being real scary. Loving, but scary. My mom was a devout Catholic. She was really prophetic. And what that means is has a very clear voice of God and voice of reason in her head. Okay. And she always leaned on that. My whole life, she leaned on her faith. And I never understood it. And I would make fun of her for it. But she always leaned on it. Anytime I was going through a hard time, she would just say, "Gabrielle, like, give it to God. Just give it to him. He's got it. Like, you can't control it. You can't carry it yourself. You weren't made to do that. Give it to God." I'm preemptively crying because I'm not even to that part of the story yet. Oh my gosh. Okay. Anyways, that just, my mom leaned on her faith. She was a woman of God, and that was the number one priority to her identity. That's an important detail in this story. My mom put her identity in God before anything else, including like being a mom and a wife and all these things. Like her relationship, it was God, my dad, us. 2015 rolls around and I'm now going off to Berklee College of Music. There was a Catholic church literally right next door to the dorm that I was living in. I'm literally talking connected to the dorms next door. I went maybe for 2 weeks and then I didn't have my mom telling me I had to get up and get going for church. Okay, so I didn't go to church. I stopped going to church. And I wouldn't say that I became bitter about church. I wouldn't say that I had any like negative feeling toward church. I just stopped being a priority for me, which made me recognize that it never was a priority for me. It was just a priority for my mom to keep me in church. I kind of went the opposite direction. All right. I'm a freshman in college. Okay. Cut me a break. Cut me a break. But we went from carrying Bibles to carrying handles, if you know what I mean. Okay. I was in college. I was partying, and that was the priority. My friends, college, and going to parties and getting drunk. That was the priority. Right. So it's interesting because unintentionally, my faith journey and whatever that looked like, it kind of shows you how rocky and unstable that was. But it went from pretty heavy, we're going to church every single Sunday, it's a big part of your identity and your friends, to we're not doing that at all anymore. Cut it. To a point where I think my junior year of college, I went home for Christmas one year and I remember saying something like, "Oh," saying something to my mom. "Oh, we're getting ready to go to church. Hopefully I don't burst into flames when I walk into the Catholic church. Oh, I can't. Hopefully my finger doesn't cinch off when I dip it in the holy water." Crazy work, crazy work, crazy work. But it's, I'll stop there too and I'll add a little thing. The thing that was really dope about my mom was, yes, she raised us Catholic and yes, it was a priority for her, but she always would say, "I raised you in the church and I gave you the foundation to have a really prominent faith, but you're an adult now, and you do with that what you will. I think it broke her heart that we didn't go, which now breaks my heart thinking about, but she was very clear on that. I can't force you to do anything. If you don't wanna continue on in the faith, then you don't really get it, and that's okay. Do your thing. I'm not here to tell you one way or another, but when you come home and you're staying in my house, we're going to church on Sunday. Pack your sweater and some jeans. You can't wear leggings, you can't wear shorts. Pack an outfit for church. That's kind of the gist of my upbringing in church. I also want to throw out there that I grew up in the South, okay? I don't necessarily identify with that in today's day and age, but I did. So the fact of the matter is I grew up in Texas and I went to school in Boston. Very different as well. So I'm my eyes are being open to so many other things that my eyes open to all these other things, like the floodgates came in and my faith ended up at the bottom. I don't think that's a bad thing. I would be remiss to not say that those are some good years for me, and I'm grateful for them. I am now 25 years old. I've moved to Los Angeles. I'm sitting in my back home office, and I get the call that my mom had a heart attack. You know the story. If you want to hear it, go listen to the first episode. But I'm in Dallas now by her bedside as she's in a coma, and I'm on my knees all of a sudden. And I am like, God, what do you mean? 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 The biggest prayer warrior, and not only just the biggest prayer warrior in her life and in my life, but she was constantly praying for everyone. Even every birthday wish. At the end, she would say, I hope that your year is filled with so many blessings from the Lord. Like she was a walking angel, and you're gonna take her off of the earth? She's doing so much work for you here. What do you mean? What do you mean? And also, who do you think you are? Like, don't do this. Don't do this. Like, I don't know if this is me praying to you because I don't think I ever really learned how to pray. I learned how to pray. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. May angels guide me through the night and wake me with the morning light. Okay. I learned how to pray at a very young age, but this was the first time in my life that I was talking to God and I was mad. And I was like, who do you think you are? Taking my mom? Taking this person who would do anything for you? Anything for you, including leaving us behind. And I just remember that started this like anger. I told you, I was never angry at my faith. I was never angry at God. It was just like another thing. But now I'm angry because how are you going to sit here and tell me that the person in my life that is the faith person, the woman of God, with a capital THE, and you're going to come down here and have her die via heart attack? Be so for real. Really? I remember praying in the hospital every day. God, I don't know if this is even like getting to you. Like, I don't know what this even means, but I'm on my knees right now, like begging you. You can't do this. You can't. Because what good is ever gonna come for this? Like, dad doesn't know how to pay the bills. Like, you always were controlling over that. Like, there's so many things that like we have to do. My God, you're taking her, but you know what you're doing to us. My now ex-boyfriend, Troy, one of my best friends, was on FaceTime with me while we were in the hospital. And one of the very few pieces of that time that I remember so vividly, he promised her that he would get me back into church because he knew how much that meant to my mom. And I remember like scoffing and being like, okay, like good luck with that. If I wasn't going to church before, what makes you think I'm going now? Okay, good luck. Good luck with that. At this point, a year passes. I'm in my deep grief. My mom dies. Sorry. Newsflash. Hey, she ends up dying. The Lord did not listen to me. God did not listen to me. He did not save her. He did not take her out of the coma. He didn't. He let her die. He took her. I just remember being pissed off. Everyone's, oh, we're praying for you, Gabby. Praying for you. Okay. Thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers. That's all I heard. Thoughts and prayers. You're praying to a God that took my mom, quite frankly. And so I'm in this deep grief. I talk about deep grief all the time. I talk about the first year of grief all the time. And I am in the thick. Okay. I am without color in my face. And Troy is just watching me disintegrate day by day. And he talks about this often. And hopefully one day he gets to tell you himself. But my mom gave him his faith too. And he watched my mom die and he watched me grieve her. And he started going back to church after that. He saw how fragile life was and he knew how lively and happy and caring and kind my mom was. And knew that came from somewhere and knew that the biggest part of her identity was her faith. So he went back to church. And with each week, he would ask me, "Do you want to come?" And I'd be right here on this couch and be like, I would laugh at him and be like, "No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not." I would laugh at him. And then one day, he looks at me and he didn't ask. He said, "Get up, get in the shower, and get dressed. We're going to church. We are going to church." Not an option. He said, I don't want to rush your healing, but I made your mom a promise. I'm going to get you back into church and just go one time. And if you hate it, then you hate it. And if it validates the way that you're feeling about your faith in God and Jesus, then let it be that. Let it be that validation that you need. But if by any chance it shifts you in the opposite direction, why wouldn't you try? And if it meant that much to your mom, why wouldn't you try? She had to have seen something that you just never got to see. So that was another piece of it. Where it's like, we're going to church, we're going. And I was just like, I remember just being like, oh my gosh, like, not only am I like getting up to go back to church today, but I weigh like 130 pounds. I still weigh 130 pounds, but it's healthy now. What I'm saying, at this time, it was not healthy. It was frail. No muscle on me. I wasn't eating. I'm getting up. I'm going out in public. Not only am I getting up and going out in public, but I'm going to church. I'm pissed. I'm pissed. But I'm going to do it. So I'm in the car on the way to church. The whole time I am thinking about how I cannot wait to be back on my couch. Okay. And we get there, and I remember seeing a woman smile at me and just broke down this wall. And with each step forward, another person welcomed me. It was like, here's this, like, welcome to this space. Like, we're happy that you're here. And I was so deep into this negative space in my grief that it had been a long time since I was met with a smile. And like I said, I'm walking in with like this hard shell. And it was the first time in so long that I witnessed a genuine smile in my face, and I allowed it to be a positive. Not even me. I don't even think that I allowed it to be a positive. I think it was the Lord saying, like, I got you, dude. Before I knew, I looking back on it now, it was the Lord saying, like, break down the walls for a second, like, give it a shot. Like, I got this. It's like, maybe think about my mom being like, give it to the Lord. Okay. At the time, I wasn't thinking any of this, but I do remember being so bitter and seeing that woman smile and it not being so bitter. Not everything in the world wasn't so bitter in that moment. We walk in, and by the way, at the time, this church was being held at a high school. I am used to being in these like extravagant churches, Catholic churches. I grew up in these like crazy Catholic churches. Troy's driving me to a high school in Los Angeles. And I'm like, what? I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. There's like tents outside and like signs. And like, I'm just kind of, kind of like, where am I? I walk into the church or the high school auditorium. I guess church is where you make it, is what I've learned eventually. Okay. But I'm walking into the church and we get there on time, which apparently all of you Christians out there are going to laugh at, but nobody gets to church on time. Okay, so we're in the second row, which is also just like so. I like can't. We're sitting behind the staff at the church. I can't with this. I already don't want to be here, and now I'm in the second row. Okay, you can just sit me in the back, and you can't choose where you sit. Okay, they're ushering you and telling you where to sit. So anyways, sit in the second row, worship starts. Let me remind you, I have always been very fond of worship music. Always, 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 always. And I was a worship leader for a long time. So it's interesting that I was so into that part of my faith, but I guess I didn't really deeply know what that faith was because I was so mad and bitter and I walked away from it so easily. You know what I mean? But worship starts and I remember just rolling my eyes, and the whole time these people are singing, I am judging them about how bad I think it sounds. Or I'm judging you know, oh, it doesn't sound that doesn't sound good. You know what I mean? I'm just being bitter and I'm not actively worshiping. I'm just listening to the music and being ooh, that was flat, that was sharp. I'm so annoyed. That's such an annoying thing that I did. But worship starts, I'm still angry. I'm like, ew, it sounds bad. And then they come up and do announcements and they're playing some little jingle over it, whatever. And then the sermon starts. Now, huge differences here between my Catholic upbringing and now this in this Christian church. And long story short, pastor comes out, gives this sermon. To be honest, I don't even remember what this sermon was about, but we leave. And at the end of the service, pastor says, just keep coming. And for some reason or another, that stuck. Don't give me a challenge you think I won't follow through with. Okay? The next week comes around. Troy gets up and he's getting ready to go to church. And he looks at me and he says, you want to go to church? And I said, yes, like clockwork. I walk up to the high school. I walk in, people smile at me. I give you the visual of me being in a ball and slowly unraveling. And with each week and each smile from everybody walking in, I'm just releasing the tension and opening back up. And one week, I think after 3, 4, 5 weeks, I honestly don't remember how many weeks it was. The sermon was about how life will change, but the Lord will remain the same. And things are going to happen to you, and life is going to shift. The Lord will work it for good. And I remember sitting there and saying, how is he going to work this for good? How is he going to work this for good? And then I started making friends. And as I kept going, and I'm saying hi to everybody else in the community that church gave me, the community that God gave me through that church, plucked me up from the very bottom. And as I lost friends and as my relationships changed, God kept showing up for me. I remember being how are you going to work this for good? And I remember too, experiencing a lot of loss. I talk about this often, but my mom died. I lost my friends. I lost my relationship. I lost so much. And as I saw this loss, I also saw so much gain through the Lord. I joined the worship team at church, and that brought me even more and even more purpose. And the Lord took me from the couch and put me in front of people to say, you can go through really hard things, but when you lean on me and when you don't try to carry it yourself, I think, let me pause. With going to this church and seeing these people and creating relationships and creating friends and starting to serve and all of these things, as I look back, I really do feel like the Lord was giving me a space to release the grief, not carry it myself. He was giving me people and tasks and readings that proved that I didn't have to walk in this alone. Something that felt so alone to me all of a sudden. As I studied the word more and as I read the Bible more, one of the shortest passage in the Bible and one of my favorites is Jesus wept. Lazarus, his friend, dies, and his sister is pleading with Jesus and being like, how dare you? You were his friend. How dare you? And what did Jesus do? He cried with them. What faith looks like to me now is endurance. It's honest prayer. I was sitting by my mom's comatic body and pleading with the Lord. That is what prayer is. I am sitting on my couch having days of grief and knowing that I'm not alone in it. It's so funny. I look back and it's like, God, how can you create something so good from this? A few things he's created for me. Perspective. When you lead with love, which Jesus teaches, the most important thing we have is love. Okay? When you lead with love and you assume positive intent and you see people for who they are and where they're at and you meet them where they're at and you pray for them, it softens your heart toward them. It softens your heart toward everybody. Because if the creator of the universe can love everyone, you can too. Duh. The Lord took my mom, but he gave me perspective. He gave me you. And it's so funny because my whole life I was prophesied over and told, you're going to have a platform and you're going to change lives. So many people have told me that. I'm not here to be like, oh, so many people that told me I'm going to change lives. Like, I'm saying that genuinely. Like, and I remember just like looking at them and being like, okay. But now I'm sitting here in front of this camera and I'm a walking testament that when you put your faith in something, it really does get easier and better. And when you show up for it and you try, it will heal you from the inside out. And you can listen to this and scoff at me in the same way I scoffed at Troy, and I hope that you do. But I hope that one day you decide to just give it a go. Just give it a go. Jesus will change you. It's interesting because what this has done for me is allowed me to believe without understanding. And I think we all need that in grief because I do not understand. To this day, I don't understand. But I do believe that the Lord works it all for good. And I'm just so grateful that that good for me is you in this space. And it's so much more for me too. But I want to end this by saying that if loss led you to faith, that's valid. If loss made faith complicated, that's valid too. God can meet you wherever you're at in your grief. And I don't know, this I really feel like is like a cheap book to life. When you actually read it and want to understand it, then ask the Lord for understanding. Like, dude, like I don't know what I'm doing here. And I feel ridiculous. I don't know what to do here and I feel ridiculous even talking to you right now. But I'm open to it. What can I learn from this that will help me heal in my grief? And when you're open to it, and when you actually try, even though you might feel really ridiculous, I'll give you $100 if you don't find understanding in it. I am so grateful for my faith. It taught me to find positivity. It taught me to seek love. It taught me to treat others the way that I want to be treated. And I hope that you know that I didn't go out there and look for this. Everything was set up exactly for me to find it without looking. So I don't know if this planted a seed. Pick up one of these at your local store or head to any local church and they probably will give you a copy if you want one. I don't even know really what I want you to get out of this episode besides the fact that my faith in Jesus Christ helped heal me. He's the dude. He's that dude. He really is that dude. Like I'm telling you right now, I used to think it was crazy. You guys, if 2015 Gabri heard this right now, 2016, even 2020, 2021, like if that Gabri heard this coming out of my mouth, she would be like, what? I'm telling you, it's crazy and it's so good. It's so good. Just give it a try or don't, okay? But it did a lot for me. I love you, dude. Thank you for allowing me the space to share that with you. I really hope you know and understand that I would never sit here and tell you that that's the only way to heal. And I think faith and religion are a really touchy subject. And so I appreciate your grace in advance because I'm really new at this. I only really picked this thing up and started to really understand it like 3 years ago. I'm a faith baby. A baby in my faith. That's better. I love you, dude. I'm proud of you. And I'm happy you're here. And I love Jesus. We'll talk soon. Okay. Love you. Bye.